Hi mate, so I've been looking through these swing videos and got a few things I'd pick up on. Straight away, we can see your feet are pointing a very different direction to your shoulders. So your alignment's a little bit crisscross. And we also can see your weight's too far forward over your toes rather than back more over the balls of the feet. As you take the club away, we see a relatively on-plane takeaway with that club head a little bit outside the hands. As you get to the top, we then see you work that right arm deep out behind you and you get that club pointed off to the right of the target, which is considered across the line. A more neutral position would be to have that right elbow more tucked down in front of you and to have the shaft more down your target line. So by in front, I mean, if you think of this seam line down the right-hand side of your shirt, you want your elbow more tucked in front of that rather than working back behind it. Then as we change direction, you'll see a very different hand path move. So if I mark butt of the club down for you, you'll see that your hands work very much over the top and forward. So you see how quickly your hands have worked away from that line this way. So that's called an over the top hand path because your hands have gone back and then gone over the top as they change direction, which we can see happening there. Because of this, you do two things. One, you start the hand path working out too quickly, but you also pull that club pretty steep. You see how it's pitched up there through your neck. Now, some of this is camera angle being low looking up, but it's still very steep regardless. So then as you work down towards the ball, you see everything working out towards that ball too quickly, too early. So you see how your hands are out in front of you at this point. And that means that club gets outside the target line early. So you see, now if your target line is roughly here, your club is outside that line and is going to have to cut back left as you work through the ball, which we can see happening there. So your club path is from out to in or swinging to the left. Then if you square the face of that, you'll hit a pull, which it looks like you've got a tendency to aim right and actually pull it at the target. Or if you leave the face a little bit open, you'll hit a fade or even a slice, depending on how open it is. Now you do try and save it a little bit. So from this position we said is steep, and your spine angle being here, one of the ways later in the downswing you can kind of cheat it to get that club shallower more in this red line would be to change your spine angle from here to here. If you change your spine angle, the club's going to go back with it. So as you come this way with your spine, the club's going to go down behind you, which is exactly what you do. So you'll notice at the top of the backswing, the butt of the club for you is on the left edge. Your tailbone is on the left edge of the screen. Now watch as your lower body goes forward as you change direction and your spine angle changes. So you've got quite a big movement, a thrust of the hip towards the ball, and by the time you get to impact, your spine's almost completely upright. So that can help you reroute the club ever so slightly, but the problem you've got is if I mark your face there at the top of the backswing, causes you to back out of that shot quite a lot, and you've then got to throw the right arm down at the ball to get back to the ground. So you move yourself this way, and you've got to try and then early release and throw that club down to the ground with your right hand to actually get club back on ball. Just pulled up a video of Rory McIlroy, which we're going to use as a bit of a comparison here. And I'm going to show you some of the key differences. So at address, you can see his alignment lines are much better. His balance is much more over the balls of his feet. As he takes the club back, you'll see everything's perfectly in line below that left shoulder. So his hands are below the left shoulder and his club head is over the hands. For you, it's not far off. It's a little bit more club head outside, but it's not a million miles away. But then as we get to the top, you'll see a very different arm structure and a very different club position. So can you see how much more Rory's got that elbow tucked down here rather than yours working out behind and away? And then you see how his club shaft is much more down his target line rather than yours being pointing off to the right. Now as we change direction, we mentioned your hands work very much straight off this butt of the club line. So you see from the top your hands go straight forward away from it. Whereas Rory, watch what his hands do. See how they're riding down that line before they start working forward towards the ball. So a left arm parallel, you can see it's a very different position here. Rory's got the club shaft much lower, much flatter behind him. You've got it, as we mentioned, quite steep going up through your neck rather than Rory's got it through kind of his lower bicep there, basically. And he's also got his hands much further across him. So everything's further back behind him, whereas for you, it's working forwards early. And as he said, outside the hands by this point here, the club's already passing out in front of the hands. Then gets outside the target line, has to work back left. Whereas if we draw a target line in for Rory, you'll see because everything's working down behind him, he's able to swing that club down and from the inside and swing out to that golf ball. So he's got a club path that's becoming much more from in to out rather than from out to in. You'll also see, if you look down here at impact, how much better a job he's done staying down in his spine angle. Whereas for you, we can see that you've come completely up and out of yours, and that's because he stays back and in his posture much better on the way down and through. He doesn't have that big thrust forward. So if we mark his tailbone line at the top of the backswing, you'll see he does a much better job staying close to that line as he works down and through. There's a slight thrust forward, but nothing as extreme as yours. And you can see at the same point in the downswing, his club's much further back behind him. But at this point, your club's already worked out in front of you. Obviously, that's quite a lot of information there over the last 5.5 minutes. This video does get saved in the app, so you can watch it as much as you need to take in that information. But with that being said, I would love to have you on board as one of my subscribers. I can then jump on camera, explain this in a bit more detail, and I can start giving you drills, feels, and exercises to help you improve. If that's something you'd like to do, then check out my profile here on Skillist. I've got a few different options depending on your budget, how much time you put into the game, and how much support you think you'll need. So choose the one that suits you the best, get yourself signed up, and I'll jump on camera either later today or at some point tomorrow, and I'll give you some stuff to start working on. Would be great to have you on board and get you playing some good golf as we go forwards.